One, two, three. Hi, my name is Lee, and today I will talk about episode 3 of Star Trek Picard. What is it called? I forgot to look up the title, but you saw it in the video title. This video will be shorter, mostly because I was very tired, felt kinda sick while watching the episode, so it's kind of a blur for me. But I do remember what happened and what I felt like. So, much like the previous two episodes, I have positive things about it and negative things to say about it. So I'm kind of in the middle again. I would give it another 3 out of 5 like I gave the other episodes. Although like I feel like the first 3 episodes were intro, and like the last line, energize. No, he said no. He didn't say energize. I watched it in German, so engage. He probably said that. That's the thing he says when they go to warp. It kind of symbolizes, I think, that now things will kick in gear and stuff will happen. So I'm curious how the story will progress. I will start with the negatives. What I didn't like is how dark everything is. Like everything nowadays, especially in Star Trek, I don't like this, that it needs to be dark and edgy. Like the girl or woman, I guess, like drug abuse, she's psychotic, she has to live in a trailer on Vasquez Rocks. That's a cool reference, Vasquez Rocks. I liked that, but I find it very hard to believe that Starfleet would let an ex-officer just, like, drug abuse. I get it that there are people, doing that, but I don't get how on Earth, which is paradise, we've been told that before, that's just tolerated, and there isn't like a whole team of psychologists coming for her and helping her and social workers or whatever. It's like not the Federation and not the Earth we saw in the other series. It's like a dystopia, but it's supposed to be an utopia, and I don't like that. Also, I guess as far as the plot is concerned, we know that the android lady is the destroyer, and there's like some huge implications, like, I don't know, she could cause a genocide or something. It's a bit heavy, but as far as Star Trek plots are concerned, like as long as it's for story purposes, I'm okay with a lot of dark stuff, but the main characters, I want there to be a shimmer of hope, so to speak, you know? And then the weird new captain, well, not the captain, the pilot, I guess, he abuses his EMH, he shuts it off, and I didn't like that. Like, that in particular scene, that was basically showing us, hey, look, the EMH's efforts in Voyager were all in vain. There are still EMHs, they are still treated subhuman and badly. I really hated to see that. The characters feel like too over the top, or I say characters, it's really only that pilot guy. Like, he's too cool for this world, Like, he's sitting there with a tritanium shard in his shoulder, and, like, he's so cool. Like, he replicates alcohol to put it on the wound, and it's just so hammy, cheesy, corny. Are those words that describe it? It just feels. I mean, Star Trek is full of these moments, yes, but this series tries to be more serious, more for today's standards with the whole dark and edgy stuff, which I dislike. But that's just a personal preference. Like, I dislike the dark and edgy stuff, but people in generally love it. But this, like, weird acting with, like, oh hey Picard, and then yeah, I just remembered the lady calls Jean-Luc JL. I absolutely hated that. That was awful. I cringed every time. Because also it doesn't make sense. Jean-Luc are two syllables. If you give him a nickname, just call him Jean or J, even though I would have hated that too. But JL, it's actually longer to pronounce than Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc. And J, it has the A and E aspect. It's like a half syllable more. It's it just doesn't make sense as a nickname, and it sounds horrible. Like this old French, or I guess French, but actually sounding British guy. Like Jean-Luc was like this big figure that we could look up to, and he was like a philosopher, his speeches and stuff, and like this very dignified man. And then this lady calls him JL. It just felt so wrong. I guess it is used well as a storytelling tool to show us how close they are, that she was allowed to give him that nickname. Because if Riker called Picard JL, I think Picard would have kicked his ass. So it works as a storytelling tool. It just personally, I hate it. I hate it. That's the one thing I hate most about this episode. Hearing JL. The Romulan agents are hilariously bad at their job. That's a note I took. Now that's another. It's not even a Star Trek trope. It's a movie trope in general. Like the bad dudes, if they are faceless, like goons basically, they suck. That's just always the case. Although I did expect one of the nice Romulans, like Picard's friends, I had this feeling like, oh, one of them is going to die, and it's going to shatter because everything was so dark. But I'm glad no one died of the good guys. I like that we got another better look at the Romulan like acid capsule self-destruct thingy, suicide pill. That was cool. That is believable. That is very Romulan. It's a new invention of this series. We didn't see Romulans use it before, but that's like very fitting. And that gets me to a positive point. The Romulan lore or culture that's been established with the lady and the triangle cards. Then we had this little bit about like they have a fake door and the real doors behind the house. I don't know what the point of that is, but it does sound very Romulan to have fake doors. It's like these little tidbits. We don't need like an entire episode examining Romulan culture, although I would love that. But finally they are a bit more fleshed out. They've never really been fleshed out before. Romulans are my favorite Star Trek alien race, actually. Of course, everyone loves Klingons. Me too. The Cardassians got a lot of story, a lot of cultural background in Deep Space Nine. The Borg are, of course, cool. Everyone loves the Borg. But the Romulans, because they were so secretive, we didn't see too much of them. And every time they appeared, they were really badass. They kind of have that mystique that the early Borg had until Voyager came along, or even late TNG. I can't even blame Voyager in this one. TNG started the trend of digging deeper into the Borg, let's call it culture. But I really like the Romulans, and I have to admit what they are doing with their culture, it's very cool and interesting. The ship they are on, I don't remember if it has a name. I like it. It's not my favorite design. I think a lot of other ships in Star Trek, even like those one-off alien ships, look a bit better. Like the design is a bit too like there's too much going on in terms of shape. What I always liked about a lot of Star Trek ships is the simple shape. The Starfleet ships, saucer, two nacelles, and the engineering section connecting them. It was always very simple. Klingon ships, kind of like wings. Romulans, like very round wings. But that ship, it looks a bit like too many edges and stuff coming out of it for my taste. But I think it's still well designed and looks pretty cool. I like that it has a paint job. And I thought it was a bit weird how spacious it looks inside, like the bridge, I guess. The bridge looks like a huge, like, concert hall or whatever. I just wonder what the point. Like, it seems very inefficient ship design to have that much empty space. I mean, it's more comfortable if you have a lot of space, but I always thought that very spacious ships, like that concept in itself, is a bit silly. But I like also the design of like the whole holo interface. I didn't like it when Discovery did it because it was basically retconning everything. Like they weren't supposed to have that yet, and it looks a bit too modern. It looks nice. Like if it wasn't set in that century, I would be totally on board with the Discovery look. Now this is the future, so I am completely on board with this look. It makes sense that they would use whatever cool methods we have nowadays in filmmaking to represent the absolute furthest we've been in the future in Star Trek technology. Do you know what I mean? I also like the replicating effect, how quickly it goes. I feel like replicators have been a bit slower in older Star Trek series. I don't know if that's actually true time-wise, but it does feel very cool, like instant. I think I'm nerding out over stuff no one cares about. Yeah, so I like all the technology we see, the designs. I like the Romulan culture that's been fleshed out. I already said that. And just very generally, I like how continuity finally moves forward again. Enterprise was a prequel no one wanted. I mean, I like the series, don't get me wrong, but I don't like the concept of prequels. Or, like, maybe a prequel movie to a franchise. Or a small prequel season. Or two-parter even only. That's cool, but just something set in its entirety, a series, as a prequel is, I don't like it. And so I was disappointed in Discovery for being a prequel. And reboots are kind of like, I don't really like them either. So the J.J. Abrams movies were a bit disappointing, even though I actually think the third one, what is it called? I forget everything in front of the camera, it's terrible. Something with D. Or maybe not. The third Star Trek reboot movie, that's actually one of my favorite Star Trek movies, period. It's just a good movie. I recommend you check that out. So I like how we see finally what happens with the Borg afterwards. We still don't really know, but we are going to know going into this series, and that's cool. Romulans, as I've said, my favorite Star Trek race. I'm looking forward to see what they do with them. So far, everything they did with the Romulans, I loved. And that's all my notes. So, all in all, I tried to talk a bit more about the positive things. Because even though I'm not hooked yet, I'm not completely enjoying it in that regard, like, yeah, I do like it. And I think I could watch more seasons of this if it continues like this. I just wish that all of the setup, I feel like I can't even really talk about the series yet because it was all set up. And I'm looking forward to see where the story goes. I really hope it won't disappoint. I think the worst prediction, like the worst possible thing they could do is, oh yeah, they just destroy all Borg in the galaxy with technobabble. that would be terrible. Or like seeing Romulans culture somehow screwed over, because I really like what they did so far, so the pessimist in me automatically assumes it will all be destroyed. I hope we see Klingons, not with another silly redesign. And that's something I blame the J.J. Abrams movies too, because they started redesigning the redesign. The original redesign was fine. I think Klingons looked good and believable and modern so far. So I don't really want them to be this super weird. Like Romulans don't look super alien-like. Just have pointy ears and some of them a little forehead thing. So I don't think it is necessary to make Klingons for some reason the really alien-looking race. If the point of Star Trek is that everyone looks the same with a little bit of rubber on their face. So that's something, even though it is silly and lazy, I wish they continue doing that. Side note, I liked how, like, the Romulan that they captured, he didn't really look very Romulan. I somehow got the feeling, for him more so than any other Romulan I saw, that he was just a human in Romulan makeup. But I liked that because too often in past series, all Romulans had the same bowl cut wig and the same eyebrow thingies and always talk the same, you know? So it's refreshing. Like, not every species should be exactly the same. That's why I like the supposedly sexiness of the other Romulan guy, main character, the bad dude. Because he looks very different than other Romulans. But at the same, and it makes sense that a species of several billion people doesn't all look the same. Although I still don't feel that storyline at all. Like, it's always weirdly, it's not even boring, it's just, I don't care for the android lady that much. I don't care for the Romulans because they are evil. So who am I supposed to care for in this scenario? I do like the Borg interactions of the liberated drones. Although, yeah, it sounds like a cheesy plotline with the Destroyer, and it's a bit weird. But Star Trek often is weird. There's so many weird plot lines, so I'm okay with it if it pays off with an exciting moment or two. This video was long after all, but I feel like I didn't say very much. I just hope... I'm very pessimistic about the pilot dude. I hope he gets an actual character that's likable, like characterization, and doesn't stay this cool action hero dude. Because I hate that. I kind of like the Daystrom Institute lady. She's a bit weird, but as long as she's not Tilly weird, I'm on board with it. Okay, those were my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry if I look kind of awful today too, but my skin is literally flaking off. I look and feel terrible, so I wanted to do minimal makeup to kind of let my skin repair, like more creams instead of makeup. And yeah, but other than that, you can look forward to some videos of a concert I went to. I only recorded a few seconds, or 30 seconds, and one video's over a minute, of a UK band called Squid. I hope you like it. You will like it. That's what I wanted to say. And even if you don't, it's fine. Thanks for watching my videos. Make sure to like below. I think it's still below, unless YouTube is redesigned again. And subscribe. Yeah. Thank you. My name is Lee. See you then. Bye.